Welcome to this New England Football Journal special. We are coming to you live from the Big New England Clinic in Newport, Rhode Island. This is the 50th anniversary of the Big New England Clinic. I'm John Sirenides. As always, I'm joined by my partner, Kevin Stone. Adam Kirchin will be joining us as well. But we've got a bunch of guests for you lined up for today. We've already spoken to Bill O'Brien and Dante Scarnecchia. Those interviews are going to be up on our Twitter page and on Kevin and Adam's Twitter page as well. And we now are fortunate to be joined by former Villanova head coach Andy Talley. Coach Talley, how are you, sir?
It is my pleasure to be here. I'm doing great. Enjoyed being at the clinic. Spoke yesterday. It was terrific.
And obviously, this clinic, as I mentioned, it's the 50th anniversary of the clinic. But this clinic has had such an impact on New England, but really the Northeast. It's a clinic that when you go back and look at it through the years, Coach Talley, a lot of guys like yourself have come up here to speak at this clinic. Why has this clinic been such a destination clinic, both for speakers and football coaches?
Well, I think it's an opportunity to be able to talk to guys from all of New England. And of course, down at Villanova as the head coach, we recruited New England heavily. So I think a lot of the college coaches are recruiting the area for sure. And being at a clinic where you can run into coaches and talk about who the prospects are and make friends. So it's very, very excellent.
Obviously you mentioned you were at Villanova, legend, long time at Villanova. Talk about your time there in the program you ran and the success you guys were able to have.
Well, Villanova dropped football actually, and Howie Long was his last year when he graduated. They dropped the program. They were out of football for 4 years. So I became the head coach. When I got there, there were no players, no coaches, not much. So we started from scratch, played some JV teams and some Division III teams the first 2 years. And then we moved right in to the CAA and started to recruit, players around the country. So I expanded the recruiting. We left the East a little bit, continued to recruit it, but we went to California. And in the 80s in California, there weren't a lot of 1AA teams. So we would end up getting a lot of kids that maybe Cal or UCLA or Stanford was going to put in a junior college for a couple of years. So I would say, why do you want to go to junior college? You come to Villanova on a full scholarship and you can play with us now. So we were able to get some terrific players out of California. Of course, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New England were still recruiting, but we ended up getting, Brian Finneran, who played, for the Falcons
Terrific receiver.
10 or 11 years, and he would have been a Pac-12 player. So it was really a great start for us.
Coach, you mentioned the CAA, and I want to talk about this week particularly. We hear a lot about Dylan Lobby sort of coming on the radar nationally, but the CAA guys, we hear the small school guys, but they're really underrated. Just talk about the CAA and those conferences in general. It's sort of building their reputation now back up to where a guy like Dylan Lobby, he might be not a high draft pick, but he's exploded on the radar. The CAA in general, I'm saying, is really coming on. Just the reputation of the CAA and kind of how you've seen it growing over the years.
Well, I think it's an elite league for sure. There are a lot of guys in the CAA that, after 2 years, are building themselves up to actually be a 1A player, especially in the offensive and defensive line. Because you're talking about kids that are 6'3", 320, 340. And a lot of the pro teams are taking a look at that kind of size. Every now and then there's a Brian Westbrook, who is an elite wide receiver or defensive back or running back. And every now and then a quarterback who could be sensational. So it's a league that the NFL teams are all looking at for sure and spending time coming around. I know even while I was at Villanova, we had scouts there day in and day out, always coming through, asking about the kids, how big are they, what kind of kid are they, can they play, what do you think, that type of thing.
And real quick, I want to ask you about Sean McDonald, obviously from UNH, and just he had a huge impact not only on UNH, but the game in New England and really the Northeast in general. Did you have a relationship with him at all, or just your memories of Sean McDonald?
Well, Sean McDonald is a personal friend of mine.
Okay. I'm glad I asked.
I love Sean. He's a great coach. And I remember the first time we played him when he was head coach. We won the game at New Hampshire. I don't know, it was like 10-7 or 14-7, something like that. And he was really dejected as we shook hands. And I said, hey, coach, you know, you got a great program here. You know, don't put your head down. I said, you're going to be really, really good. I said, I don't look forward to coming up to play you in New Hampshire. So we're going to have a lot of fun playing each other as time goes on. But he took the loss really hard early in his career, which I did too. When I was, you know, first becoming a head coach and you get beat and you wonder if you can ever win again. And so Sean is one of the best people that I know in the coaching business, and love that guy.
We are joined by Andy Talley, former head football coach at Villanova. Coach, I wanted to ask you about your foundation. Obviously, you've done a lot on the football field, but you've also done a lot off the field. Talk a little bit about your foundation and what you guys are doing and how much of an impact that is having on you now in your life and what you're doing in your post-football career.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for asking. We are saving a lot of lives. It's the Andy Talley Bone Marrow Foundation that I run, and I've been running it for the last 15 years. And we are involved with the National Marrow Donor Program and NMDP. They're my partners. So basically what I'll do is contact a college coach and ask him if he would do a marrow drive at his school in the spring. Then the NMDP will supply a rep who will show up at the school, train the team for an hour or so, and then on the actual day of the event, it's about 4 hours, where they'll encourage the student body to come down and do the cheek swab to get on the donor list, where potentially they could be called to save a life. So we've put 280,000 young people on the bone marrow donor list. And we have, at this time right now, 1,400 transplants that we're personally responsible for. So what that means is you now have somebody who has some form of cancer that needs a transplant because they're probably going to die unless they get a transplant. So when they get that transplant, this then invigorates them and gives them a chance to have more life. Sometimes a person can live for the next 20 or 30 years and have a great life. Sometimes it's only 2 or 3 or 4 years, but it's a life-saving opportunity. And it's so incredible to be able to use the game that I love, college football, with college athletes and college coaches believing that this is something important that their program can do.
Speaking of the game that you love, obviously the game has gone through some major changes in recent years with NIL, transfer portal. Put yourself in this world for a sec. Would you envision yourself being able to coach in this environment? Because, and I only ask you this because you see a guy like Nick Saban walk away. You see a guy like Jeff Afley at Boston College walk away, go back to the NFL. You see Chip Kelly, which we all know Chip well. Of course, he's a New Hampshire guy from his time at UNH. But you see a guy like that walk away from a head coaching job and go become an offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Could you, knowing what you know about your style, your approach, your philosophy, could you see yourself coaching this kind of an environment today?
That's a great question. Actually, I was just talking to Coach Don Brown from UMass, and he enjoys the portal. He really,
of course,
he likes working with the transfer kid. I didn't take transfers at Villanova, never did. We wanted to grow them up when they were freshmen, bring them along, and get them involved academically and make sure socially they were strong and ready to play. So for Andy Talley, I would be out of football. There's no way that I could coach in that kind of environment. And I think that's why Saban and a couple of the other guys have left, because they don't want any part.
No, and I think you bring up a great point. It's an environment. And the thing is, it's not just the portal that you got to manage because now you're recruiting your guys and others. But on top of that, you're going to have guys that are going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, how much are you willing to pay me to play?
Yeah.
And that, to me, at that point, it's no longer college athletics. It's no longer amateur athletics. Now, you might as well be in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that's what has happened. And I think a lot of programs just don't have the kind of money to attract some of the major league players that a lot of the big schools can attract. So I don't know where it's going to go, but it's almost the beginning of pro football in college football.
I agree.
Like I said, I thought we had Don Brown coming on. Last question for me then, just in general, you talk about the difference in college football now. What do you most miss about the game or coaching in general, or do you not miss anything anymore? Is it nice to be away?
Well, with me, because I was doing bone marrow drives while I was coaching at Villanova, the segue was easy. It was just very easy for me to retire. I think I was 73 when I retired, and didn't miss a beat. We went right into bone marrow drives. I was done with football. I had a great career. I was fortunate to be at a school for 32 years. Not many guys get a chance to be the head coach at a school for 32 years.
Even when you got into it.
Yeah. So I was very lucky to be at Villanova, which is an academically oriented school. So I was all into that because I've been an Ivy League coach. So when I came to Villanova, we were going to get kids that wanted to read and write, and then play football. So, I haven't missed it. It's great to watch, but we're saving lives. That's more important to me than anything.
Of course.
And that's just it. At the end of the day, football's a game. It's a passion of ours. We love it. I mean, I've coached for almost 30 years. I get it. But what you're doing now with your foundation, big picture, is going to be a big part of your legacy, and it's going to change lives, which we change lives as coaches.
We do.
But what you're doing, I think, is next level, changing lives.
It's incredible to be able to see someone that we worked with that now is alive and thriving and has a family and is pursuing a lifestyle. So it's as good as it gets.
Coach, I want to say it's been an honor to have you on for years. I would read articles of yours from Coach of the Year and all those magazines and, talking about the Villanova football program. And I've always been a fan. I used to go see Coach Flynn speak. And one of the best wide receiver coaches in the country at any level. It spoke to the kind of program you ran and why Villanova football was as successful as it was. So from somebody who was in the business for almost 30 years coaching, I want to say thank you because you guys touched coaches more than you think in other parts of the country. You influenced the way they think and the way they coach. So I want to thank you for taking the time. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And let's do this again soon. If
Absolutely.
you're back up here next year, we'd love to have you on again.
I'd love to be back. Thank you.
All right. That is Andy
pleasure.
Talley, former head football coach at Villanova. Thanks again, Coach. We appreciate it. All right. So we're going to keep moving here. So we've got Don Brown coming up next. So, Coach, you're good to go. If you're
All
ready.
right. Great. Thank
All
you
I
so
need
much.
is your lapel mic. So we are live here, so we're just going to keep going as people are coming and going. We do need to have we will need a fourth chair. So Kirkchin is on his own in terms of getting a fourth chair. Thanks again, Coach Talley.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Again,
I'm
that
going to hand you my mic for a couple minutes.
Wait 1 second.
That is Andy Talley, former head football coach at Villanova. 32 years, as Coach Talley talked about, a lot of success there in the old Yankee Conference, and then, of course, the CAA. We do have Don Brown scheduled to come up next. We are doing some rearranging here. Kirkchin's moving around, Stone's moving around. We never said, by the way, folks, we've never said that we were this, new.
We just have a lot of pre-snap motion.
We do, yes, I like that. Excellent, Kirkchin. We have a lot of pre-snap movement here. We're like Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel. A lot of pre-snap movement.
I really loved listening to him. Villanova, just one of those programs every year is in the mix. One of the top teams in the country every year. They always find their way in it. Even when I felt like this past year, they were a little overrated at first, and then the games started playing, and they just got right in it. They're a terrific program.
Speaking of legends, we have another one joining us now. He hates when we do this to him. First of all, Coach, I'm going to ask you to wear a lapel mic. We've really come along since we first interviewed you 2 years ago. So we even have microphones now. I'm still paying for them though. So we are now joined by UMass head football coach Don Brown. Coach Brown, first things first, great to see you, my friend.
Great to see you guys. How's everything going? All right?
Good.
We
good.
good?
We'll be out in Amherst in no time.
There you go.
It's going. Of course, the Minutemen start spring ball on Tuesday, March 26th. So we're excited to be able to get out there and see you guys practice. There was a bit of news this week on campus. Something big happened. So obviously, all kidding aside, you guys are joining the MAC, which not to fanboy here, but I think is fantastic. We're so excited for you and the program. Just talk a little bit about that. How does that change things for this football program?
Well, it does give, the biggest thing that you're searching for when you go into a conference is you're getting some consistency on the opponents that you have. The way I'm seeing this, we'll probably have 8 opponents from the league, then an FCS opponent, then 2 non-leagues, or 1 non-league, 1 Power 5. So, whenever you're into those kinds of things, and you're in a league, now you're preparing for 8 teams a year, and there's some consistency there. Your guys, you can get them ready for certain concepts where, for example, us, every year it was a complete new, battle in terms of who we're going to compete against. But no, this is a good time for us. We're excited about the move, and excited for our players.
One of the things I love about joining a conference.
Use the microphone.
Oh, sorry. One of the things I love about joining a conference is this gives you the opportunity to build rivalries, because you'll play the same teams every year, or not every year, but you'll play a lot of the same teams every year. It gives some normalcy to everything. You don't have to really worry about your schedule as much. Are you excited for that possibility? It really could be anything. It doesn't have to be geographic rivals. It could be, a team like Eastern Michigan or something like that.
Oh, no doubt. I feel like we've already kind of developed a decent rivalry with Eastern Michigan, because that's one of the teams, we've played, year in and year out. And obviously, that's one that we're pointing at. We're opening up against them next year. And if you look at us, there's 5 games next year that were already scheduled against MAC opponents. Okay, so there's some good things there, and I think this is really good for us. Take the rah-rah out of it. There's consistency. You'll have an idea who your opponents are, and that's a good thing.
No, it really is a good thing. And I think the other thing that benefits you guys making this move to the MAC, Coach, is familiarity. Like you said, you're playing 5 MAC schools already. So
Yes.
from a coaching preparation standpoint, you guys already have a book on that, which I think makes a big difference. And the other thing with the MAC is it's a conference where you don't have a ton of coaching turnover. You have some, like any other conference, but you guys are going to have a book on a lot of the teams you're playing already because you played so many of them in recent years.
Yeah, no question. Every time you play somebody, you make the scout book, you prepare, and you go compete on that given Saturday. And so there's a lot of those teams that we have played. Now, the good thing is you're playing with a purpose now. So every time you play against a MAC team, the conference championship is on the line at the end of the day. What a great thing for us.
It is, and that's the thing, and we've been harping on it for the last couple of years, the importance of you guys getting into a conference, the importance of UConn getting into a conference. This is why it's important. And I would imagine for you guys and for the staff, it also helps in recruiting now because you're selling something more than just an opportunity.
Yeah, I think the recruiting piece is really important because now the teams that you're playing, you'll be in their backyards, and preparing to play them with a purpose because it means something for them and for us, you know, so that's a big deal.
How do you feel about your quarterback room? Just because it seems like you guys were good there this past season, not just at the starter position, but some of the backups. You got a guy who you recruited, Haston, who was coming up from Miami the year before. Do you feel good about where you guys stand at that position?
I feel good about Tyson. I mean, obviously, he's a proven commodity for us and a guy that we have a lot of confidence in. You know, Ashton, as you hit, you know, is a guy that played high level, you know, high school football. And now I firmly believe we could put him in the game and win the game. You know, that's the nice thing. He's one of those guys that does everything right. Football's important to him. Getting better is important to him. And some of the things that, you know, that some players value, he doesn't value. He just cares about one thing, getting better and helping his teammates win.
You know, obviously, when you look at recruiting, and we've talked about this with every college coach, Don, how much it's changed. And with NIL now and the initiatives and the portal, you seem to embrace that part of it, though, in many ways. A lot of coaches, I'm not saying they've run away from it, but they've said, you know what, I'm good. You're embracing that. What's the difference there?
Well, it's you just hit it on the head. You either get in line and complain, and then you won't get better, or you embrace it, you go get it. You know, you know the one key that I think we've done a very good job with is when we get into when we're talking to portal guys. The number one thing for us to do is get to know them as fast as possible. Get around them in social settings so we can see how they're going to interact with their current teammates. And really, you know, from my standpoint, leadership has to come from within. So you're looking at guys and how they're reacting in the locker room. You know, we're in the winter workout period right now. So, you know, we're in the mat room.
I was going to say mat drill season.
Mat drill season is among us, and we've been doing it for 4 weeks. The nice thing is the NCAA allows us to use footballs, but you can't be 11 on 11 and stuff. But you can get better at the fundamentals of football. That's a big deal. So, you know, we're able to do those things with the football, getting our guys moving in a football manner. And, you know, then obviously right after spring break, we'll start practice for 5 straight weeks. And the great thing there is we can really take it to the next level, take all the learning and the fundamentals that we've been working on and just jump in full time and get ready to get better.
We are joined by Don Brown, head football coach at UMass.
I just had a quick question because you know what to expect out of your players. At this point,
You now.
yeah, at this point, do they know what to expect out of you? How firmly entrenched is your culture now?
I think our culture is firmly entrenched. You know, I'm not a big culture guy but you know, obviously there's value to it. But you know, here's the thing that I do. You know, and this is how I measure things. I go to practice. You know, we go to the winter workouts. We stretch. We warm up. We do individual. We do some football-related activities in one-on-one type situations with the players. We do run-throughs on garbage cans. I mean, there's so much stuff that we can get done. And now, how are your players going to respond? Are you constantly after them to get to move and groove? Because if you are, you got a problem. Because you can't be begging guys to play. And I'm telling you, it has been unbelievable to go to winter workouts this year. And just, if I would have, you know, just, you guys, it's open, you know, you can come anytime you want. Just come watch our guys chase, run, hunt, do all the things they got to do, you know, really excited, you know, with the way our guys have really responded this winter.
Just make sure you let Danny C know we're coming. We'll let him know too, but we're going to show up and he's going to be like, what the hell are you guys doing? But you bring up a great point, Coach, about in year one, you're counting on guys to innately have it in them to compete and want to be good. They don't really understand fully what you're doing yet. They haven't embraced the philosophy. Year two, more guys embrace it. But to your point, now, year three, you can, I don't want to say be more hands-off, but they know the expectations now. When you're doing those mat drills, they know that requires maximum effort. There is no, all right, I might take the foot off the gas on this station, but I'll go hard on this station because Coach Brown is nearby. You have now laid that foundation. Now you know your team as well as you're going to know them, but they know you as well as they're going to know you as well.
You get it on the head. That's a great.
I answered my
comment.
own question.
And the good thing about that is when you take that piece off and all you're doing is focused on getting better as a coach, it's a good deal now.
It is.
When when I can't stress it enough, with success comes confidence. With confidence, then your players have a chance to be leaders. And that's what we do. We turn that locker room over to them, and it's their responsibility to make sure everybody's, now this may sound crazy, but for example, we've had a couple of interesting scenarios. The NCAA came in to drug test us. This goes on, that goes on. And you have little things that could, timing wise, knock you off kilter a little bit. Not our guys. We have not had one guy late to a morning workout, to a winter workout since beginning of February. We started on the first week of February. That piece right there is alleviated. And as a coach, when all you have to do is go out and lead and get them rocking and rolling on the field, that's a fun day now. That's a fun day, and you're focused on getting better, not holding somebody's hand.
I wanted to ask you about this because you were at Michigan, obviously, when a lot of these guys were being recruited and became national champions. Mikey Sanderson, one of the most impressive young kids I've ever covered in terms of just a great head on his shoulders, really smart kid. Zach Zinner was just what a beast that kid was. But did you? I mean, because I think they had 16 Massachusetts and Connecticut kids on that roster when they won the national title. Is that gratifying for you? Yeah.
Well, there goes his coffee.
I got
him. You rattled him, Coach.
Yeah.
You rattled him. Good thing you finished it, or your khakis would have been wearing.
That's good. I mean, it's good to see those guys achieve great things. Unfortunately for us, we kind of got caught during the pandemic there in 2020, and things didn't go great. So, but obviously, the thing that I'm most proud of is seeing young people from I'm an advocate now. You go ask other high school coaches. I've recruited high school players from the New England region my whole career. I mean, that always has been of the utmost importance for me. And to see those guys have tremendous success, it's gratifying.
And in that, you were the first guy that a lot of these kids talked to when it came to like a big program. Like you were on the cutting edge with some of these kids at Michigan, and it seems like it felt good to see a lot of those kids have that type of success, and it just shows the type of recruiter you are really with any kid, but especially with those guys.
Here's a nice thing, right? So I'm driving down here to the clinic yesterday, and Josh Uche calls me, and knows he can do it. Him and I catch up for 15, 20 minutes. 15 of it's lighthearted, and then 2 minutes. This is the reason why I called. And to be involved in some of these young people's lives to that degree. After he's removed now. He's in the NFL. He's an established pass rushing animal, and it's nice to see him, achieve great things.
Coach, final question here from us. Obviously, you had a big change on your staff this year. Offensive coordinator change. Steve Kasula goes back to Michigan. You hire Shane Montgomery, a guy who's been around for a long time, been a coordinator of multiple stops, knows the MAC well. Just some thoughts on the coordinator change and the hiring of Coach Montgomery, and what can we expect philosophically from this UMass offense?
I see a lot of similarities because there's a lot of similarities, out there in college football. But people say, "Oh, did you bring Shane in to help you with the MAC?" Not really. We brought him in because he was the best football coach for us at this particular time. He's a great man, does a great job with the players, and has certainly garnered their interest. And that's just been another smooth transition. We thank Steve Kasula for the great job he did, and Shane's stepped right in, and he's leaving his mark on the offense now as well.
Well, Don, I want to say thank you for taking the time, my friend.
Hey.
Always great to see
You
you.
got it.
UMass starts spring football on March 26th. Coach Brown will also be at the New England Coaches Clinic next weekend at Gillette Stadium. I believe you're presenting on man press technique. Is that what I saw? So Coach will be there coaching up the coaches again. And like I said, Minutemen begins spring ball on March 26th. Highly recommend getting out there. It is a great practice to watch. You're going to learn a lot about organization, fundamentals, technique, scheme, you name it. And Coach Brown and the staff do a great job of opening the door for coaches. So take advantage of it. You also, I'm assuming, you're going to be doing your coaches school again later on this spring.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll have that as well. Middle of April. So there you go. Make sure you follow along with UMass football and follow us along, because we'll be passing along information from UMass football and what they're doing as well this spring. Again, Don, I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Adam wants to thank you.
Adam.
The coffee cup wants to thank you as well.
All right.
All right. And hey, listen, I'm going to give you the heads up now.
Yeah.
I should have done this while we were going live. The lapel mic is back.
Backwards.
Who knows?
You were speaking into
Oh,
the
there we go. There we go.
But it doesn't matter because you're using your coaching voice. Coach, thank you as always, my friend. Appreciate it again. The great Don Brown. We are coming to you live from the Big New England Football Clinic, the 50th anniversary of the Big New England Football Clinic, and we're cycling coaches here fast and furious. We are now going to be joined by Boston College running backs coach, Savon Huggins. Coach Huggins, good to see you, man.
How we doing?
Good. Here's the lapel mic. Now listen, Coach Brown was wearing it this way.
All right, I'll make sure I got you. I'll make sure I put it on.
But first things first, like I said, Coach, I want to say thank you for joining us, as I mentioned.
Thank you.
Obviously, it's been a whirlwind for you guys. We spoke to Bill O'Brien earlier. You can use your coaching voice if you want. It's more of a prop. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna just do
There we
this.
go. We adjusted. I like it. That's what it's all about. Obviously, we were talking to Bill O'Brien earlier this morning. Just some thoughts on Coach O'Brien coming in. You were on Jeff Hafley's staff. How's that transition been?
It's
so
been
far?
unbelievable, man. Kind of picked up right where we left off. In the midst of it, I was in road recruiting. So, I never stopped recruiting. Never been stopped, developing and being around my players. So, obviously with the new regime, there was change. But, at the end of the day, you still got to keep doing your job, And I think that was kind of my approach to when it happened. And I was telling our players, we always talk to our players about how do you respond when adversity happens, when you're on the field, right, or in the classroom, and how about this where it affects all of us, including myself. And I think the biggest point of emphasis for me was I've been through that before. As a former player, when I played at Rutgers, I remember I found out in the hot tub in January when Coach Shiano ended up leaving to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I had firsthand experience of that, and obviously with that comes a level of unknown. But the most important thing as a leader in my room was how I was going to respond and how I kind of approached that was really, I think we got closer at that point. So I just kind of spent more time with my players and got around, invited them over the house, and just kept doing my job. I didn't do anything different to answer your question on that.
It's the nature of the business to have a coach, leave.
Right.
How surprising was it though with the Hafley news came down?
Yeah, it definitely was surprising. I mean, obviously we found out while we were on the road recruiting, But like you said, it is part of the nature of the business. I think the biggest thing is just make sure that you do a good job. And I guess that cliche thing that Coach O'Brien said, last night when he was talking specifically to the younger coaches from 27 and down, it was like, be where your feet are. I mean, that couldn't have been articulated any more than that experience that happened to us is like, not trying to look for, man, just be where your feet are and everything else kind of will take care of itself. And that's just kind of been my approach to everything that I've done in my life. And I think the way my room, the way the team, we had a good culture and, the team got closer. They really, truly did. And it's been great to see how they've been approaching, winter workouts. And Tommy Castellanos has done an unbelievable job, being the leader of the team in this time. Like I told the guys, even when it happened, this is your team. Like how you guys want this to go is going to be on you guys, and we'll lead by you guys. And obviously with the new regime now, like we got great leaders, but we've just kept it going, man. Really, yeah.
Coach Huggins, obviously, you're going to be going from what you guys ran the last few years at Boston College to a new system, of course. Coach O'Brien is an offensive coach.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the opportunity to not only coach for him, but to learn his system and to have an opportunity to coach under him now.
No, I think one of the biggest things people keep asking me that question is if you got a chance to see last night, he's a great storyteller. And just kind of being around him, he shares so much wisdom. And it's not to necessarily brag or boast, but to put things in perspective. And him storytelling allows the players, especially in team meetings and stuff, is to understand the why and the how of why we do things. And I think for us as all assistant coaches, I could probably speak for is he's explaining it in a way, this is why we need to get this done because this. And obviously he's worked with, two of the greatest coaches of all time in Saban and Belichick. So, he's been here for 2.5 weeks and I have, 2 notebooks full of notes already.
Wow.
Because every time he speaks, he has a lot of wisdom and he just wants us to hold our players accountable. He wants us to be, tough on them. He wants them to make sure they go to class, and like he said last night, like the 200-mile radius is where he really wants to pinpoint in terms of recruiting. And again, just being intentional with what we're doing is kind of really what has really stood out to how he's kind of transitioned in this time.
Without going too into detail,
Right.
the very first meeting, I'm assuming you guys were in that team meeting as well, obviously.
Yes.
We've heard some things, and I've heard some things about how emotional that room was. Take us in that room for that first team meeting. What was that first night like?
Again, I think the biggest thing was the unknown, right? Like everybody, like what's next? And the unique thing that he did, and without going into depth, is like he wasn't afraid to address the elephants in the room. I think that was the biggest thing. It was like
Players value honesty.
Right, exactly. And I think that was kind of like he's not naive to think of the fact that the timing of this was obviously, abnormal. But I think that, is kind of what I could speak on is that he just understood that. He even said it, before, like he's dealt with this experience at Penn State before, if he can go through that, he can go through anything, So
this is a walk in the park.
Right. So I think more importantly was just the way he was open and honest and transparent of how he wants his program run. And I believe all student athletes they want leadership. They want to be held accountable. They want direction. And he was able to give that for us as a program moving forward. And what we're going to do and where we're at right now and how we want to continuously build on what we left off on and be better. So that was kind of really what the message was. And if you're with us, you're with us. You're not, you're not. Like that, like it's that point blank period. Like, it's been great, man. It's really been really fun and been enjoying it. I love coming to work every day, man. And each day has its new challenges, but that's what we signed up for, man.
Yep. We are joined by Savon Huggins, running backs coach at Boston College. Obviously, let's focus on what's on the roster here and talk about your room. You've got some talent returning to your room. Kai Robichaux had a terrific year last year as a transfer. Talk a little bit about that room. You also lost a bunch of guys in the portal this offseason. So in many ways, there's going to be a lot of new faces in that room. Just some thoughts on what you've seen from those guys so far this offseason.
Well, the number one thing I could tell you that, man, it is very competitive. It's probably one of the most competitive rooms on the whole team, and I'm excited for this group. You know, you got Kai Robichaux, a former walk-on who earned a scholarship at Western Kentucky. He came to Boston College as the second, third string running back and earned his opportunity. You got Alex Broom, who's played a lot in his first 2 years. You got Trayshawn Ward, who's averaged 6.5 yards a carry at Florida State and 5.2 at Kansas State. So he's averaged over 5 yards a carry in 2 different conferences. He was also a former walk-on. Then you got Jordan McDonald, a bigger back that was a core special teams player. This guy is 6'1", 225 and can run. And then you got Day Detrell Jones from Catholic Memorial, who's a redshirt freshman, who's got some real gas. Like, this is a very competitive room, and I'm excited about that because it raises the expectation level of each and every person. You come to work, every day, in everything that you do. So it's been unbelievable, man. And the coolest thing about it all, Kai Robichaux invited that. Alex Broom invited that.
They wanted the competition.
They want that. And I think nothing was more relevant in that when we were down for all the injuries, right? At the end of the day, everybody just wants to win, right? And it's a team collective game. And now we got a really competitive room, and it's challenging each and every, player in the room to be better. Everybody's taking detailed notes, right? Everybody wants to be first in individual reps. Like, everybody's, it kind of, creates a standard inadvertently without even me having to say anything. And I think that's the most exciting thing that I'm excited for going to spring.
Player-led rooms in my years of coaching, player-led rooms or player-led position groups are always the best, because
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that you can take the foot off the gas as a coach, or you could step back and let them do things, but it also shows leadership, that they're hungry, that they want to compete, and that they want to be special, and then you fill in the rest. So
Right, absolutely.
Last one for me. Spring Bowl, about a week away, I think on Monday.
Yes.
A week from Monday. There's always a chip on everybody's shoulder at Division I level. Can you sense a little bit more of a chip on the guys' shoulders this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, before, when it all went down, like I talked to my guys and everybody agreed, like this is their team. And now we got, great leaders in each and every individual room. And man, let's go do this thing. We're excited. Like Coach O'Brien, the biggest point of emphasis is fundamentals and techniques this spring. Like, let's get better at the fundamentals and technique. And let's just chop at every bit each and every day to get better, right? Like, don't focus on how many practice we have or the next practice. Like, let's just focus on being the best that we can be. Let's learn how to practice, right? Like, everybody in spring ball is getting reps, from the starter to the second, third, fourth, to the walk-on. Everybody's getting reps in spring. Everybody has a clean slate to go out there and compete at a high level. And I think, with the new regime, now you can go and improve, and there's no biases on terms of what other people thought of you, because you have a new regime. So I think the biggest thing is just fundamentals and techniques and it allows guys who kind of may have been on the fringe to go out there and showcase their talents and go compete.
final question here from us, Coach Huggins. Obviously, you spoke here yesterday, and I had coaching buddies of mine text me and say that they loved your in-person on-field drill portion. What is it about this clinic that makes it a great clinic to come to every year for coaches? Obviously, the location is great. Who doesn't love Newport? But what makes the clinic so special, and why do you want to be a part of it?
I was talking about this last night with somebody. I think the biggest thing here is people want to actually learn. This isn't a clinic looking for a job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Most clinics, people are going to a clinic looking for a job. It's like I was telling somebody, at the convention, it's like you got FOMO, right? I feel like I'm missing out on something if I sit down in a clinic and watch something where I could just be mingling with people in the hallways, right? Or talking to people. Where here, it's very intentional. You have great, coaches and teachers, people asking great questions, right? Like you feel more comfortable sharing your number with people because you know it's coming from a genuine place and they want to learn. I mean, from all the way from high school to middle school to Division 2, 3. I think it's just a very personable experience and very like interactive. And I think that's what makes this clinic different than most. And I think that's why I enjoy coming back. Like I'll be back next year again. I mean, I remember the first year when I was here last year, I was like, wow, I didn't know what to expect. And I'm like, wow, this is really, really a unique experience. Really, really unique experience in a great place, Rhode Island. But outside of that, I mean, these live demonstrations and the stuff that we have in I mean, even the one with Coach O'Brien, like that was pretty cool for him to again engage and be interactive. Like most clinics aren't interactive. It's slides. I'm talking about
Yep.
stuff. Okay.
The
all
old
right.
overhead projectors.
Yeah. Like it's very interactive, very interactive. And I think that's what makes the Big New England Clinic a little bit different. And it makes people in the crowd feel more comfortable asking questions because you kind of get that feedback from the speaker that they have more of an inviting, personality. So I think I really truly love it. Love again, all the people that come out, high school coaches come out to our practices this upcoming spring. We want to recruit the New England area, the 200-300 mile radius, and we want to make sure the best New England stay on. So I'm excited for you guys. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
All right. Coach, thank you very much. That
Absolutely.
is
Thank
Savon
you.
Huggins, running
Thank
backs
you.
coach
You
at
too, man.
Boston College. We'll see you in a couple of
Thank
weeks
you. Absolutely.
for
Thank
spring ball, Coach. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. Appreciate you too. All right. We got a couple minutes here. I know that we're getting our guests in here fast and furious. So
Adam, you take this one, I'll go on the other one.
I just want to make sure that I keep us on schedule here because that's part of it, of course.
Just pre-snap motion.
Pre-snap motion, folks. This is what we're doing.
We're changing the
Coach will
strong
be
side.
right with you here. We're just trying to. I'm looking for Stone. Supposedly sent me the schedule, but he's typing fast and furious over there, folks. We're doing this from the seat of our pants. We're not ashamed to admit it. So who cares?
This is only professionals can do it like that.
Only right. We're pros. We're the pros and pros. Obviously, a lot of good stuff there.
So I remember when Savon was a recruit at St. Peter's Prep in New Jersey as a running back. He was a big time player, and I think recruiting New Jersey is always going to be a priority for whoever's at Boston College, and it'll be fun to watch that develop as well.
All right, Coach Watkins, how are you, sir?
I'm good.
We've got a little lapel mic for you, if you wouldn't mind throwing it on. All right, and we are now joined by UNH wide receivers coach Charles Watkins, and Coach is going to throw on the lapel mic. Coach Brown put it on backwards, so good on you for putting it on the right way. That's why we love Coach Brown, though. But Coach Watkins, thank you for taking the time, sir. Really appreciate it. First things first, just some thoughts on this weekend's clinic. Obviously, it's the 50th anniversary of the Big New England Clinic. It's been a staple in New England for a long time. It's a destination clinic. Just some thoughts on this weekend.
It was awesome. I thought it was really good. Being a first-time guy here, really impressed. I thought we had unbelievable speakers here. I thought it was ran extremely well, efficient. Give credit to everyone that was involved. And I'm honored to be here. Very thankful. Heard great things. Coach Santos was like, you got to speak there. And I said, absolutely. The boss said you go, you go. But it's been really good. And here it has been 50 years and it's still going. And hear the stories last night, how it first started, where it was maybe 8 people in the crowd, and to where it is now to see that great thing happening. And thankful to be in the area. A lot of great coaches here, a lot of great high school coaches. Our roster is full of New England kids, so we're definitely looking forward to having those guys on campus come here in spring ball.
What's it like coaching with Ricky? Because I actually remember him when he was a high school recruit.
Okay.
And he played at a small school in Massachusetts at Bellingham High. And, he was very good, but playing at a small school back then, a lot of sort of go under the radar. He goes to UNH. He has an unbelievable career. He seems like a fiery guy to me. Like, he's not like a laid back kind of guy. It doesn't seem to me. But what's it like to coach with Rick?
So funny story, right? And I told them I think it's like our third time talking. My first ever college game, right? I'm a freshman in high school. My uncle is a Hampton grad. He takes me to the Hampton versus New Hampshire game in the playoffs. This quarterback goes for like 600 yards. I think like 6 touchdowns. Have no idea who it is. Chip Kelly's on the sideline. And then Titan told me when I got the job to look it up, and it was Coach Santos. So I always try to give him a hard time. I'm like, hey, dude, I was in high school when you were playing in college, right? But no, he's a great guy. Great energy. He's a great teacher too. The way he develops from being a wide receiver coach to coaching the quarterbacks, you can tell he's a great offensive minded guy. I'm pretty sure he had it as a player too. He was coach on the field. So I just know when you're with that guy, you trust him, you love what he's about, and he's also going to make you better. Great family guy, great work life balance. One of the best that I've been around in my short coaching experience. But I love working with that guy every day. He's going to challenge you too. He's going to want you to grow, continue to grow and learn. Right? He don't want you to be complacent. We had a rough year last year with 65. We didn't meet our standard, right? So this year he made it very important that we get better at the fundamentals because a lot of those losses it was because of what we did. It wasn't necessarily what the opponent did, but we weren't sharp with our execution, right? Attention to details, making sure that we were in an athletic position. So make sure we were finishing games. A lot of those losses came in overtime. So been really good, really good. Spending this spring ball, it's my first spring ball with Coach Santos, so seeing the behind the scenes. I came in last year about like the middle of spring ball, so just seeing now where we are, I think great things happen this fall.
You know, you got a chance last season to coach Dylan Lobby, who,
Oh, yeah.
of course, is in Indianapolis this weekend for the scouting combine. Just talk a little bit about Dylan. Obviously, for us having the opportunity to cover him the last couple of years, he's a special player. I'm glad that the rest of the country has gotten to see just how good Dylan is. Talk a little bit about him from an inside perspective and what he's like to be around. And obviously, he was a central figure in your offense and what you guys did schematically.
Great kid, really great kid, hard worker. You see him just walking around, working on his steps, getting in and out of it. You see him sometimes we're in practice, he's on the sideline working on his steps, very detailed. One of the hardest working kids I've been around. I played at Duke and I coached at Rutgers. So when you see that and you see it translate from being in the weight room to being a leader with good character in the classroom and to what he does on the field, I think he's a no-brainer. And for me, it was the Central Michigan game where I fully became a believer. Like I knew the kid was good.
A lot of people did.
I knew he was special, but on that field, I really, really believe, and I might be biased that he was the best kid on that field. And I think he made our jobs easy. We just had to try to give him the ball, and he was special. So special talent, but I think even a better person. Great home life. Mom, dad, his brother's playing at Holy Cross. So really good family. It's been a privilege to work with that guy because he's coachable. And he wants to be coached. He wants to be coached hard. Between playing in the slot, spend some time with him, but then in the backfield, he wanted to know, all right, coach, if I did it this release, what would this do, right? So he was always asking questions, always wanted to meet on the film, and I think he has a high IQ, so I think it'll translate really well in the national football.
When I talk to guys who have gone through UNH, it's the same now as it's been. I hear a lot like when you're recruiting a guy to UNH, you're not just recruiting a player, you're recruiting the person.
Absolutely.
And that you're looking for a UNH guy. And you want a UNH guy that sort of means not just a good player, but a leader,
Yes.
Somebody that's good in the classroom, somebody that teammates be proud of. Is that something you're able to communicate with recruits during the process?
Absolutely. You do it right away, right? We might be old school, but first thing we do is we want to figure out what kind of character this guy has. What is he, right? So we talk to the head coach. Then we want to talk to the principal, talk to the teachers, and get an evaluation, right? Then if we got a good relationship with the opposing coaches, we want to ask how does this kid handle adversity, right? So you get multiple points of contact to try to establish what kind of player he is, and then you build those relations with the guy, right? You look at the GPA. We have a high standard at New Hampshire as far as core GPA, so they have to meet that, right? So you got the character, you got the academics, and he is a good football player. That's why we're recruiting him. But those other two things, we got to check the box there. I think we did an unbelievable job. Our recruiting coordinator, Coach Borden, on paper, right? Because Coach Sanders will kill me on this one. But on paper, we signed the best recruiting class ever in UNH history, finished with a top 10 class. So I think that's just us doing a great job building a relationship with the high school coaches, but then doing a good evaluation to see if these guys would be a perfect fit.
And you mentioned Coach Borden. I've known him for a while now. He and I talk often, and that's part of it with you guys. It's that staff dynamic. You guys are really big on, and not that the other staffs around here aren't, because they are, but you guys are really big on the high school relationship piece. And you're not afraid to turn over any stone that it takes, not Kevin Stone, any stone that it takes to find the right player. But I think part of it is, I saw this last year. I was covering your game against Stonehill. Part of it is your staff dynamic.
Yes.
You guys enjoy being around each other. And look, I coached for a long time. When you find that staff, it's a special thing. And at your level, though, there's a lot of movement. So it's kind of hard to have that all the time. At the high school level, it's a little easier, obviously. But watching you guys pregame, you're hugging each other, you're jumping up and chest bumping,
Yes.
you're fist bumping. Why are you guys such a close staff? I mean, is it just because you're going out there and just coaching ball and having fun? Or is it just how everybody is on the staff and it speaks to what Ricky has brought together?
Right. I think that's a very important thing is that their Coach Santos did a great job of vetting different candidates, different coaches. And I think that was the biggest thing for him is he knew we were going to spend a lot of time with each other, so we wanted to make sure we mesh well. We have like staff outings. Everyone's very competitive. That's what I love about our group. When we play basketball, you think it's the NBA Finals Game 7, right? Coach Santos is out there.
Well, I can see it with Ricky and Casey. And
Oh, yeah. So I think
Yeah.
just us building that trust, trust each other up in the foxhole, knowing that, hey, how competitive it is, what it means for everybody, and then having like different staff outings. Coach Santos did a really good job. And I think that translates onto the field. But it all starts with Coach Santos and his standard and what he wants to see in his staff and doing a good job of hiring the right guys.
With recruiting, it seems like, I feel like not just guys who are at UNH, but guys who went to UNH who go elsewhere, like for instance, like a Dan Carr, now at Holy Cross. They're so knowledgeable and plugged into Massachusetts high school football. Like they do such a great job recruiting this area. And Ricky played at Bellingham, as you know. But just, how do you guys approach recruiting in terms of finding guys that might not be getting offered somewhere else?
Right. So biggest thing, and I love that we do this, coach wants to get that kid on campus to a camp. We want to be the evaluator, right? You see the film, but it's different than seeing a kid in person, right? Talking about Dylan Lobby, right? Stony Brook didn't offer him. A lot of schools, that's his backyard, right? Being from Long Island, they didn't offer him, right? But we seen him live, we seen him compete. We knew he had that talent, right? So being able to get our eyes on him and seeing, okay, these are certain areas you do well. This is where he needs to be developed. We got a really good strength staff. We got really good coaches, so we can develop him. And I think that's why he had a lot of success, right? You talk about the level of success receivers they had. Guy came in at 4.7, RJ. He left out as a 4.4 guy, right? But if he ran a 4.4 coming out of high school, he wouldn't have been at UNH, right? But we was able to develop him, give him and it might just be as simple as his start, right? A lot of kids struggle with the technique of it, but finding ways to develop him or players in general, I think they did a really good job. And Mass is always going to be a focus point for us, right? With Coach Santos being there, we got Coach Borden from there, we got Coach Belcher. So it means a lot. That's why I'm so passionate about Jersey. You're always going to be passionate about your home state, right? So, and then you want to pick, you want to circle it, you want to protect your area, right? The big New England, that's our area. We want to get the best players to be able to play for the best university in the area.
And the other thing I wanted to just touch on real quick was a guy like Dylan balls out at UNH and look where he is right now. Yep. Is that something that you can sell to recruits? Like, hey, if you don't have a Big Ten offer, you can still go to the combine and get drafts and all that stuff. I mean, it seems like really it seems like a D3 lineman went to Tampa a few years ago, that Marvin. So, But so is that part of the conversation that you
Absolutely. You talk about that because kids want to play in the National Football League, right? If I'm recruiting, I hope that's your dream, right? But also explain to them, hey, only 1% make it. But if that's your dream, I'm going to do everything in my power to make it happen. And having Dylan, it shows guys that it is possible, right? But on that, another layer to that is Dylan had opportunity to leave, right? He could have transferred, but it talks about that brotherhood. It talks about the family environment. He didn't want to leave his brothers. He believed that this year, right, we had a great shot at winning the national championship. So he came back. Same thing with JoJo, and then Flex, right? Those guys had opportunities to leave, but they stayed because it's important to them. That brotherhood, coach has done a really good job of taking guys from different areas. JoJo's from Virginia, Flex is from Florida, and then bring them all together and change that locker room from neighborhoods to a brotherhood. So he did a really good job with that. But yes, to answer your question, you talk about the different lobbies of the world and say, hey, if you work your tail off, do good in the classroom, good things will happen.
Final question here from us, Coach Watkins. And again, we are joined by UNH wide receivers coach Charles Watkins. Final question here. You mentioned you guys went 6-5 last season, not up to the standard. Obviously, the expectations were high coming into the season following what they did the year before. Big spring here for you guys. What are you looking forward to this spring? Obviously, you got to replace a lot of production there.
Oh, yeah.
Max Brosmer, Dylan Lobby. Just talk a little bit about some of the guys that we can expect to see get reps this spring that are going to become integral parts of this team in the fall.
Absolutely. So, biggest thing I like is there's competition everywhere, right? Between the O-linemen, between our quarterbacks, right? We got 3 quarterbacks right now. We want to figure out who's going to be the guy. We brought in a transfer, Seth Morgan from D2 Shepherd. We got Barry, who played a little bit last year, Festa, and that's a pretty sure freshman. So we'll be able to see those guys compete. Then in the running back room, right, you got to replace Dylan, you got Ike, you got Miles. We got 2 freshmen we feel good about that should be able to compete there at depth. And then the wide receiver room, right? We got all of our guys back. I'm excited to see Logan take that next step. You saw that the last 2 years. Oh yeah, the last 2 years I thought he played his best game. I thought Maine was probably his best game. So seeing that and
the guy, not to cut you off, that I think a lot of people should get to know
Yes.
Logan Tomlinson. He could be an India year from now.
I agree, right? And then that's my challenge for him, right? Is don't think big picture just yet, but trust the product, right? Trust the process, right? It's going to lead to a good product, and I think he's doing a great job with that. He broke our squat record, and he broke our power clean record, right? So when you see that from your guy, he's up to 210 right now. So he's 6'2". Last year he played at 200, so he's up 10 pounds. It's good muscle too. I give him a hard time. I said, you got like an 8-pack. I wish I had that. Right? I've never had that in my life. So I think Logan's gonna have a really good year. And he got Caleb in the slot, Caleb Burke. I think so. Having those 3, and then we'll see what add. We got Dylan Evans from Buffalo. I believe that he can have a good spring for us. He'll be a redshirt freshman. Noah Cundis from Florida. Those guys will be competing to add depth to us, right? And then Josh Fillions is in the slot. He played a little bit, can walk on, earned a partial, so that is possible. I tell our guys, you work hard, you will be rewarded. So I think I know there's a lot of competition. Same thing on the defensive side. I know those guys weren't happy with last year. So then we got to replace a lot of. We had a veteran defense, especially in the secondary. So we brought in some transfers to give us experience there. Having JoJo, having Flex and D-line. I know what their standards are, what their goals are. Being All-Americans, but now want to have it translate to the team. So it should be a really, really competitive, fun environment this spring. And like I said, we're taking it day by day, though. I think that was the biggest thing that we as a staff felt that we got to do a better job at. It's not just looking at the end, but finally falling in love with the process day to day. And Coach Scott James now is with us.
Huge addition.
Yes.
And I was going to mention.
I love
great guy, great coach.
I love his quote, right? It takes a year to put a trophy in a trophy case, right? That stuck with me since he said it, right? So that's our message to my guys. Hey, it takes a year to put a trophy in a trophy case, right? That just doesn't happen overnight, right? We got to do it day after day after day. That's where we are right now, right? We just finished lifting. Now we're heading to mat drills for 2 weeks. Then we'll spring break, and then we'll have spring ball. So right now, the most important thing is mat drills.
Good stuff. Make sure you work my guy Drew Danson.
Oh yeah,
coach him at King
yeah.
Philip Regional.
Oh yeah, and Drew.
Guy.
Oh yeah, so Drew, he plays that fullback role for us, right? So he's up to 260 right now. He's looking real good. So there'll be some competition there.
He is a hard worker. He grinds.
Oh yeah,
So I'm not surprised.
Oh yeah.
I'm not surprised, and I know he played a little bit for you guys last year, so I'm looking forward to.
Yes, that tight end. I left those guys. I apologize. I love my tight ends. If I can, that's probably the best position I think. You get the coach, they block it, and they receivers too, right? So Kobe Ranshaw, freshman All-American. So I want him to build. He's looked really good too. I think he's one of the best route runners on our team. That's tight end and receivers, right? So We'll see Logan Strickland. I know those two guys are going to battle, right? But we're young. So now these guys get the spring ball, get that experience, and we'll need it right away because we got UCF first game in August, right? And non-conference, you got Holy Cross, you got Harvard. So
Oh, you got your
it's
schedules
coming,
a bit.
it's coming right out the way. So we'll find out what
We're
we got
excited
right
though.
away.
We're going to be covering those games, and we're looking forward to it. And Coach, I want to say thank you for taking the
appreciate
time,
it.
my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and we're looking forward to getting up there and seeing you guys in the spring.
Can't wait.
All right. That is Charles Watkins, wide receivers coach at UNH. And Coach Watkins is a pro. You're going to take the lapel mic off and leave it. All right. We are getting our guests in here fast and furious. Again, we are coming to you live from the Big New England Football Clinic here in Newport, Rhode Island. It is the 50th anniversary of the Big New England Football Clinic, and we are now joined by Endicott head football coach Paul McGonigal. Coach McGonigal, good to see you, sir. John Sirenitas, Kevin Stone. First things first, here we have so Coach, we can give you the lapel mic or handheld mic. What would you prefer?
My voice is shot,
Oh.
and I don't know why.
Well, I'll tell you why, because you clinic your ass off. That's why. Here's the lapel mic. So Coach, first things first, just your thoughts on the Big New England Football Clinic 50th anniversary. This clinic, as you know, has been a staple in this region for a long time. Oftentimes I hear friends of mine, their wives will say, you guys just want to go down there because it's in Newport. But it truly is a destination, not just because the bar scene in Newport, but also, and more importantly, because of the caliber of teaching that goes on here. Just some thoughts on the clinic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great clinic. Keith does a great job. I've spoke the last 2 years. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
It's good to see from a coaching standpoint of us coaching at the same time, catching up with the coaches we have worked with over the years too, and the high school coaches as well. So it's a great clinic. You can see the turnout on Friday, Saturday. It's great.
Coach, now more than ever, the separation between Division One, Division Two, and Division Three, it feels like the gap is narrowing very much. Do you feel the same way when you're out recruiting and looking at these athletes?
Absolutely. I think even like obviously our places, the facilities, the campus itself sells itself, but there's gaps everywhere. But I think depending on between Division Two and Division Three, I think there's a much bigger gap. But I think the players, there's different players at different speeds, stuff like that. But I think it's closing. I think, and even just Northeast football, people recognize what's going on up here.
Yeah.
Coach, you've done a phenomenal job at Endicott. I think oftentimes when people think about D3 football, and I coached at Curry College way back when, but I think when people think of D3 football, they think non-scholarship, they think all these things, but you guys have done a tremendous job of marketing the program, and your staff has done a great job recruiting. Obviously, you look at some of the kids you brought in recent years, you've done a terrific job of building the proverbial recruiting fence in Massachusetts and New England. Talk about what it's taken to get this program to where it is, because it's a testament to you and your staff.
Thank you. It's definitely a staff effort. It's not just me. It's the athletic director, Brian Wiley, or the president, Dr. Silva, or assistant ADs, or facilities. I mean, there's so many things. But, I think we focus on the backyard. I think there's good football up here. My 10 o'clock, my clinic yesterday, we're showing clips first, the number 5 team in the country, but I'm like, he's from Massachusetts, he's from Connecticut, he's from, New Hampshire, Maine, whatever. And I think, having recruiting ties in the area for a long time, and the high school coaches trusting you're going to take care of their young men. And it's a lot. It's all about relationships, but there's some good football there.
Just to that point, having been around the area for so long, naturally, do you feel like the gap is closing in terms of people respecting New England on the national scale?
I think so. I think New England or even the Northeast.
Yeah.
Corlett wins a national championship in New York. Ithaca's a great program in Plan. So I think the whole area is now on the map, and I think you have now nationally ranked teams. Who knows what happens next year? We have nationally ranked teams that are from the area. I think that says a lot for the whole area, for all the coaches.
How much has recruiting changed at the D3 level? Because in my experience coaching at that level, and even just talking to coaches, so it used to be, unfortunately, a game of attrition. you'd bring in 25, 30, 40 freshmen, but then the next year, depending on how you package them, you might have to bring that many back in. How has the game changed? How are you guys able to have the level of retention that you have when it comes to the kids?
I think first and foremost, I mean, they're picking the school for the school. You know, you're right, there's money, but at the end of the day, they're technically all walk-ons. Right? So they have to have a love of the sport. And, you know, we want them to walk around these campuses and have to not play school. You know, I think that definitely helps. You know, facilities, campus, and having 3 private beaches doesn't help.
No, that always helps.
But we're not swimming right now, right?
Right.
I think our selling point is, since we've been there since 2018, we have not had one player transfer to play football with us, not one. And because A, they like to swim, and B, I think, you know, they enjoy their time, and I think, you know, like the staff, they do a good job, and I think it's all about culture. You know, culture's like a carpet. You can't just lay it down at the back and constantly. I think we do that all the time. I mean, everybody's going to run 4 verticals, everybody's going to cover 2, whatever. It's what you do, and I think once the players care, they know you care, excuse me, I think that just goes a long way.
But you are out recruiting. What is your, besides the beaches, obviously, what is the pitch for NEFJ?
The college itself, the internship program
Yeah.
is huge. You know, I mean, when you get on the campus, whether you're from, you know, locally from Swampscott or Marblehead or New York, they feel like they're in your own private community. And they're always doing upgrades to campus. I mean, during COVID, we were building 2 buildings. And we just built another building for exercise science nursing. We're building a new one because the college is full.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of where, you know, pick the internships and stuff like that, and the majors, and Boston, where we're located, you know, and we're also going to play a good competitive football conference, but play competitive football outside. You know, we're playing at the RPI again and going to Texas next year, and then we're playing Susquehanna in 2 years. So it's all about getting, not just playing the local school, but getting out there as well.
Yeah, and obviously, talk about that and how much it paid off last year. You guys had a pretty big regular season win.
It was good. It was electric. It was a Friday night game. You know, they're an unbelievable team, and we're gonna go back out there next year. So who knows? But you know, this past year, I think we played Ithaca week 2 and lost on the last play. I think playing, and they're a good team, playing hard. Simmons kind of playing as kind of gets ready for that. Yeah, they're good and they're good, but it wasn't like a, you know, 2 national teams, but they're both good opponents. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like a shell shock. You know, football is you play 10 times, who knows what happens. But our kids were ready, and I think, you know, during that week, you can tell that they were excited for the opportunity. But and people, it's great. You know, hey, we're the number 5 team in the country from Texas. But the responses we got was from coaches in the conference or around the area. But it was like, it wasn't a win for just Endicott. It was a win for the whole region. And that was a big thing. We put none of the us, like we talked earlier about New England Northeast on the map. Like, to me, like it was like a win for all of them. Makes sense.
And I don't know if people realize up here anyway, it's not a knock, it's reality. I don't know if people realize how good a program Hardin Simmons is and how much success they've had to. So for you guys to get them to come up to your place on a Friday night in that atmosphere and then to get the win, I mean, that video went viral of you afterwards in the locker room. That's what it's all about, right? Like if you're going to play D3 football, you know you're not there because you're getting scholarship and you're not getting the proverbial freebies. If you're there because you love the game, that's some pretty special crap, man.
Yeah, that locker room was, my voice was probably the same afterwards.
Yes, I was gonna say, it's probably been this way since.
Yeah, probably. But you could just see their faces and you'd see them winning and that win and other wins and the same with losses. But it's like they knew. But you know what's great about the team is our goals in the conference. And even as okay, great, but like they stay focused. That was week 4. We still have to win the conference because you don't really get that large bid. You know? So if you can be the number 5 team in the country if you lose your conference. Great, good season, but what do you do now? So yeah, that was when it's not when you didn't know it was being recorded, which is great because it's natural. It's natural, but it was a good thing that Friday Night Lights, especially.
Last one for me. First of all, before I forget, former player of yours, that's Joe Gagoi. So we can tell you who are. So I just and just on Bentley, how did that kind of shape or help your coaching career now, you know, to where you are right now?
So,
Just your coaching career, looking at that way, how did that kind of, I guess, springboard you, if you will, to where you are right now?
yeah, so that was just 20 years ago, 2003. So I was pretty fortunate. I played at the University of Kentucky. I'm from Mass. I started with Coach Gallup in Northwestern.
Yep.
I had football. Got a first lesson coaching driving vans. So not to go to full resume, but coach for a long time.
Oh, yeah. He was my gym teacher, that's how.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that team was kind of similar. Where the year before they were at you know, a good record, but it was like a push over the hump. First time calling to be an offense coordinator, coach had took a chance on me. You know, Bentley's, you know, I was been a competitive program at school, as in school, but yeah, Joe and those guys were kind of similar, just kind of call it. Back then, the scholarships really weren't a lot, even back then. And even, you know, so yeah, it was good stuff. Good kids. You say their names. I ran into actually the right tackle, Jason Gregory.
Okay, yeah.
At Market Basket. And he was like, oh, you know, I was like, yeah, he's number 40. Like, we remember our kids
Yeah.
like 20 years ago. You know, can't remember what we did yesterday, but I can remember.
Yep.
Right.
No, I know the feeling. I mean, I coached almost 30 years, and you do. You remember your kids, you remember your players, but you don't remember what you did 20 minutes ago. Final question here, Coach. Obviously, you know, as I mentioned, you know, you guys have put the proverbial fence around the area, and you've recruited some really good kids. You recruited some kids that I've been around, that I've coached, Brian Mateer from Norwood, some of my guys from King Philip coming up this year, Sean King, David Constantine, Danny Silveria. Talk about those guys and why it's important to continue to have those types of kids in your program that are local kids that are not just going to come in and make an impact, but are going to be positive fits in your school community.
Yeah, I think, you know, you're building a roster. You want to make sure that, you know, you also play some winning programs. You know, and, you know, King Philip wins. And we finally broke through. We finally got some King Philip players coming in. We were talking with those guys, okay, who's going to be the first? And, you know, but they're also those guys, those young men right now are like, Coach, we'll start the recruit group chat. You know what I mean? They're up 9 freshmen. But, you know, Brian Mateer and the whole area, like, to me, it's like I said, it's recruit, you know, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island, whatever, but you know, Massachusetts, the backyard. And, you know, there's a lot of good football around here. But, you know, like Brian Mateer, you know, hockey player. How many football hockey players?
Yeah.
You know,
Tough.
No,
Tough as nails. And just a wonderful human being.
Oh, he's great. He's great. Yeah. And he plays a freshman. And people say, well, if I go there, won't play. We started 2 freshmen on offense in the NCAA game versus Cole. And so it's not like if you're the best, you play. If not, you just work. We all do.
Well, Coach, I want to say thank you for taking the time, and we'd love to have you on again when you're not battling clinic
I
laryngitis.
know. It's beside I go through it.
No. Well, but we appreciate you talking Endicott football with us and coming on.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much. That is Paul McGonigal, head football coach of the Endicott Gulls. Thanks again, Coach. Appreciate it. Again, we are coming to you live from the Big New England Clinic here in Newport, Rhode Island. It is the 50th edition of the Big New England Clinic. I'm your host, John Sirenides. As always, I'm joined by my partners, Kevin Stone and Adam Kirchin. We still have some more guests scheduled to appear here. Going to be here until 1 o'clock, but we still have some more guests scheduled to appear. We still have Joe Moorhead, head football coach in Akron. Coach Joe Lamb from Harvard is also scheduled to join us. We've gone through quite a few coaches. Kevin Kelly, head football coach at New England College.
Yep.
Your former stomping grounds. He is scheduled to join us as well. So we've got a good group of coaches coming up, and we're going to wrap it all up with clinic director Keith Kenyon, who is a very good football coach and a winning football coach in both Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Keith is going to be joining us as well. He's the director of the clinic. He is going to share his thoughts. Again, we are coming to you live from the Big New England Football Clinic. It is the 50th anniversary of this clinic. It's hard to believe. You know, honestly, guys, I used to come here for years, and I told Billy O the story this morning when we had him do an interview with us about how the last time I was here is I came down to see him when he was at Penn State, and I walk in about 20 minutes before he was about to start. He's standing there, and I wanted to grab a front row seat. I put down my stuff, and he's like, "What are you doing? I'm not scheduled to start for another 20 minutes." I'm like, "Listen, dude, I promised my wife a weekend in Newport just so that I can come down here to see you." Now, I haven't told her that, but I wanted to spend time with my wife, obviously, but that was really my selling point that, hey, let's do a weekend in Newport. Luckily, she has friends down here in Newport in Middletown. She's from Rhode Island, so that was made it an easy sell. But fantastic clinic. Keith and his staff do a great job. Kyle Archer, the coaches that are here, first of all, it speaks for itself. But we've also had an opportunity to get some good intel here from our college coaches that have been on with us going into the spring. Just some thoughts on what we've heard so far, starting with OB and Coach Scar, and then all our other guests.
So I
And
think
make sure it's pointing at your mouth.
Okay, sorry about that. I just think it's with things like this, like clinics here. It's funny how you'll see something, hearing a lot of coaches in the crowd, and you'll see that stuff on Friday nights and Saturdays, over the course of the actual season. Like the ideas that get shared here, and at the one we'll be at next week too, they really spread. And it's really cool to see how certain concepts, like I remember a few years ago at the one at Gillette, I forget what, I think
And we'll be there next week, by the way.
Yeah, I think the one
Coming to you live again.
At Gillette, I think it was like 2019. I talked to some of the guys there, and they're really big on a lot of the RPO stuff that was being taught. And you just see it, and then all of a sudden, boom, on Friday nights it's there. So that's one of the things I like about these clinics. When you go to some of these sort of presentations, you'll see stuff that will really show up on the ensuing season.
John, you can probably speak to this better than I can, but the willingness to share ideas in a time where everybody's trying to pick off everybody. Again, you heard particularly Huggins talking about, it's all coming from a good place here. And I think Gillette's the same way. I'm sure the one in Connecticut's the same way as well. But the willingness from some top level coaches to share ideas with each other, that's what stands out to me at these things the most.
Yeah, and I will say, we tried to do something a little different with the background here, so forgive us if there's some noise blending, but we wanted you to get a feel for what's going on here. It's a great atmosphere. Over 400 coaches signed up for this clinic, and again, I think it speaks to the kind of clinic that they put together here, I should say. Every year you're getting 400 or 500 coaches here, so again, it's a testament to Keith Kenyon and his staff. They do a tremendous job of running this clinic. Again, we are coming to you live from the Big New England Football Clinic here in Newport, Rhode Island. It is the 50th year of the Big New England Football Clinic. It's hard to believe, but this has been one of the best football clinics in New England for a long time. And we're fortunate to have been invited down this year to go live from the clinic, and we appreciate, again, Keith Kenyon, Kyle Archer, and their staff. I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we did here today. I asked you guys just some thoughts on what we were told by coaches. Let's start with Bill O'Brien. Obviously, we spoke with him this morning. That video is up on Kevin's Twitter page. It's going to be up on our main Twitter page as well as soon as we're done here. Again, we're coming to you live until 1 o'clock here from the Big New England Football Clinic in Newport, Rhode Island. Just some thoughts on what Bill O'Brien said. Obviously, a lot of what he talked about in his introductory press conference and what he talked about in subsequent interviews. OB talked about that stuff with us. Adam, I want to start with you. Just some thoughts on what he said this morning.
I just think there's a level of excitement for this that I don't think is always there. I mean, I think people are excited about Halfley, but most people haven't really heard of him. Yeah, at the time.
You have.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot.
Yeah.
That's why.
But I just feel like there's more of a general energy and excitement around the program because not only is Bill O'Brien a big name, but he's also like a guy that people generally like. He's a popular guy in coaching circles, and I think that I think that's going to help him going forward when you're talking about recruiting the area and everything like that. I just feel like BC made a really great hire. They shot for the moon, and they didn't take their eyes off the prize, and they brought in a really big fish. So I really think just talking to him, there seems to be a good energy, and it feels like people are very excited, and the energy is good around the program.
For me, first of all, thank you to him for adjusting his schedule this morning to accommodate us. But for me, there's two takeaways. One, he is fully embracing what BC is in its current state in terms of recruiting, NIL. he knows where they are, and he knows where they want to go. And I think that's honestly the biggest thing is, yes, he has a vision, but he's also, he said it verbatim today, it was pump the brakes. He said pump the brakes on expectations. Does he want to be a national championship contender? Sure, everybody does. But he knows where they are, what they are, and what he needs to do to get to where they want to go. And I think coming into this situation, and I've talked about this for weeks now, I think as a local guy, it's huge. We talked about this earlier. He truly cares about the BC image and what they used to be and what they can be again. And I think having that local angle is big for the program, again, just because he knows what BC being good means to the area, and I think he wants to get back there. So just for him to understand sort of the situation around BC right now, I think that's the biggest thing coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think managing expectations is an important part of it. There are going to be more eyes on the program now. I mean, look, this is not a knock on Jeff Hafley or the previous regime, but there are going to be more eyes on the program because he's coming from the Patriots, because he's a local guy, because he's a known commodity. He's a known name. People know who he is. So I think, to me, managing those expectations is going to be extremely important for Bill and this staff. And they know what they have, and they know what they need to do to get this program to the next level. And look, I'll say this to the Boston College faithful. You have an opportunity now to compete for a conference championship and possibly a national championship. You're still a Power 4 school. So they're going to have those opportunities. And, with the expanded playoff, if they can find a way to make sure they are managing the NIL component of it, if they can find a way to make sure that they are managing the portal aspect of it, I think that they're going to be fine, and I think that they're going to have success. And we are going to go on to our next guest. Excuse us, and we're going to ask Stone to step aside and clear our screen here.
I'm just going to ask somebody to do that.
Yeah, click later. Click later. But we are going to have our next guest come in. We are going to be fortunate now to be joined by Akron head football coach Joe Moorhead. Coach, come on in. Welcome to the show. Again, we are coming to you live from the Big New England Football Clinic, the 50th anniversary of the Big New England Football Clinic. And see, this is what Coach Moorhead right here, he gets it. This is, see, no offense to all our other guests, and we love you all, and we appreciate you, but he's like, you know what? Yes. He's like, you know what? Enough with this background noise. We don't even need the lapel mic. He's a pro. He knows what he's doing.
A bit of a loud talker too, so I don't want to
We love
disrupt
it.
the other
We love
clinics that are going on right now.
And see, we were going for the aesthetics thing with the background. We have a banner. We didn't bring the banner. We're like, let's give people a real feel for what the clinic is about. And what we're finding is we sound fine, but we're going to sound a little bit better now. So
Absolutely.
we appreciate it, Coach. Thanks again for taking the time. Of course, well known around the football circles for your work as an offensive coach. As I mentioned, you're currently the head football coach at Akron. Before we get into talking about Akron and your career, let's talk a little bit about the Big New England Football Clinic, 50th anniversary. Just some thoughts on the clinic.
No, I mean it's I've had the opportunity to spend time at clinics, all over the country, ones that are run by high school coaching associations, Nike Clinic, Laser Clinic, so on and so forth. And Coach Kenyon and I tried to hook up for this one after my last year at Fordham, but unfortunately going to Penn State prevented that from happening. And we stayed in touch and reached out a little bit earlier in the year, and the schedule worked, and just a great group of college and high school speakers, very well attended, a lot of information being shared, and it was kind of neat to have the 50th anniversary photo taken last night and see all the great names who have been a part of it.
It seems like one of the things I like about a clinic like this is that a great idea can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
You can come from like a Division 7 school. It can be a small school and still you have a way of blocking something or making a check at the line or whatever. And something can always, be advanced. Is that sort of how you approach a clinic like this?
Yeah, I think when you at the point where you think you know it all, you don't know anything, and every great idea is stolen from a thief. But yeah, I mean, I come to these things and have an opportunity to speak and share some of my knowledge and things that I've learned over the years. And I mean, heck, I sat in on the wide receiver coach presentation from New Hampshire and learned some things. Obviously, Coach Lamb from Harvard, who I've known a long time, unbelievable job with the quarterback, sat on his presentation. I'll do a couple more this afternoon. So the free exchange and flow of ideas and You know, I don't think whatever, this will be year 27 for me, whether it's year 1, year 30, you know, high school, Division 3, Division 2, you know, FCS, you know, there's always somebody that is going to find a better way of doing it than you are and help you become a better coach and better team.
You know, as I mentioned, you're currently the head football coach at Akron, but you have previous head coaching experience, Power 5 head coaching experience. You've had the opportunity to be a head coach in the SEC. You've had the opportunity to, as you mentioned, coach at Penn State. Talk about the current landscape of college football, Coach, because it is a lot different than what we knew even 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't see it going back. And not saying that in a pejorative way, it's just the reality of it. Saw an interesting tweet from Ross Dellinger that went out yesterday, kind of outlining the current state of college football and the different things that are on the table, and it's just a unique set of circumstances. So, you know, I guess as they say, adapt or die. And you know, the challenges are different at the Power 4 level than they are at the Group of 5 level. But you know, it's certainly something that, as I said, is ever evolving, and you know, we've college football isn't going anywhere, so we got to find a way to adapt and make it work.
Tell me about coaching in the MAC, a unique conference. I think it's one of the most unique conferences in college football, with some of the days that they play the games, and some really good rivalries and some strong teams in the Midwest centric. What's it like coaching in this league, and how do you guys compete?
It's of all the conferences I've been fortunate to be a part of, I think it's the one that has the most parity top to bottom. And then the thing that usually separates the teams that win it from the teams that don't have an opportunity is a great quarterback and elite defense, or a combination of both. And I think you saw that with Toledo and Miami of Ohio this year. But you know, any given well, I guess you can't say Saturday.
Any given Tuesday.
Thursday.
Any given Tuesday.
Yeah,
Let's talk MAC.
That you tee it up. You know, you usually have an opportunity to win the game. Great coaching, explosive offenses. I think you're seeing the resurgence of defenses, and it's a lot of great regional rivalries. And then with the addition of, I thought I was getting rid of coaching against Don Brown defense. Thought too soon, so they're adding UMass. We welcome. I've coached with Don, coaching. I have the utmost respect for him. So to have got additional UMass will make a very interesting conference even better.
I was going to ask you, how do you think they fit in? Obviously, with the conference, it's great because now you get to expand further east.
Yeah.
You add the Boston market really into the equation, which is huge. But how do you think they'll fit in? You're at 13 teams now. You're probably still looking at another team coming in at some point here. Just some thoughts on that.
Yeah. You know, UMass was in the MAC, and I forget the date.
Yeah.
They were
left,
2012 to
left to
15.
become independent, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they're playing 6 MAC opponents
Yeah.
this fall anyway. You know, outside of a couple of money games and other outliers. So I think there's a kind of a natural similarity between UMass and the other schools in the MAC. You know, Shane Montgomery, the new offensive coordinator, was a head coach in the MAC. You know, was at Buffalo, has a lot of ties. And, you know, there's, I think I'll say, unique aspect for UMass is, you know, all the other teams are pretty much centrally located relative to recruiting base. So a lot of talented players in New England in this area that, you know, we recruited, but it's not your you know, local area. But yeah, I mean, I've done a long time. I think he's a hell of a coach. It's I say going to be another day to tee up against a very well coached and talented team.
Just, you know, one thing is, it seems to me, now this is sort of just about defenses in general, but because I remember when a lot of teams would put 8 in the box and stuff like that, and now you can't really almost do that anymore with the way spread offenses are sort of taken over. Do you find yourself recruiting more like hybrid safety types than you did 10, 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think because so few teams face offenses that are, you say, heavy personnel, like 21, 22, 12, and there are some that still delve in that area. But you know, when you're facing 11 and 10 and, you know, some 20, you know, you see way more people are what they call 4-2-5 operation than they are true. So the Sam isn't a linebacker. You He's
Really a third safety.
he's a DB. He's a
Yeah.
safety or a corner in some
Yeah.
a big corner in some instances, and then it used to go the other way. You would go big personnel to little personnel. Now it's okay, when you go 11 to 12 or 11 to 21. Now you put a Sam linebacker in. So I think it's affected the way for 85 scholarships. It's 41-41-3 is how most people do it. And then I think the number of inside linebackers that you're recruiting on a given year, and in terms of your roster composition, that is diminished, and now you're forced to recruit more safeties or bigger corners to play that nickel position.
Coach, obviously, we talk about coaching in the MAC, and you guys get the opportunity to play on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. How cool is that, first of all, to get that opportunity? It's unique. It's different, right? Like nobody ever plans on playing a game on a Tuesday night. Tuesday's usually a work day, if you will. But how unique is that opportunity, and how much of that is a recruiting tool for you guys, that you use that to recruit kids?
Well, the only real challenge of it becomes your weekly schedule on a game that you have less than 7 days to prepare. So, there's some action where you play on a Tuesday, then you don't play till the following Saturday. So when it's an extended week, it's really like half of a bye. But there are some instances where you play and then it's either 5 or 6 days later. So that makes it challenging. That's one. And then two, we don't get the, say, recognition, publicity, or kind of, national attention that's garnered by the Power 5 schools. So, the trade-off is you're the only show in town. So, most people are finishing up practice and kind of going into the recruiting part of the day for coaching, and then next thing you know, boom, Kent Akron. so it is cool to be. It is pretty cool that once 2, 3 times a year that your team is going to have national focus by being the only game on.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, you're in Ohio, and a lot of things that people say about high school football in Ohio is it's the cradle of coaches. Like it's one of those places where they're sort of ahead of the curve scheme-wise. What's it like recruiting that state? Because I feel like everybody in the Midwest recruits Ohio anyway. But what's that dynamic like for you?
And I've had the fortune of growing up in Pittsburgh, and it's an area.
That's actually the cradle of coaches.
Yeah, well, it's treated like a religion. Friday night lights in Pittsburgh and Western PA are sacred. Really, I think Ohio is just an extension of that, and it's a religion in the Deep South too. And I think what you said is accurate. There's a surplus of very good players, but I think part of that is how they're developed from experienced and knowledgeable coaches, and and there's so many different. You have Northeast Ohio, you have down the river, you have the Columbus State area, you have Cincy, and then you have Toledo. So there's a lot of pockets of really, really good players, and then there's some places that are kind of out in the middle of nowhere you can still find guys, and I think that's probably like you go to Mississippi, and I saw that the number of players, I think it was 34%. They had the highest percentage of players that went on to play. It was an interesting statistic. But I do think Ohio is a state, and I don't want to say over-recruited, but in a lot of ways like New Jersey when I was at Fordham, it is hard to find someone that nobody knows about just because there's so many MAC schools. It's, Cincy, Ohio State, like everybody's going through Ohio, everybody's going through Jersey. So I think you almost have to be better with your evaluations. You always have to be good with your identifications, but there's so many good players that everybody knows about. It becomes more about acquisition than finding out who they are.
We are coming to you live from the Big New England Football Clinic down in Newport, Rhode Island. It is the 50th anniversary of the Big New England Football Clinic. I'm your host, John Sirenitas. I'm joined by Adam Kirchen, and we are joined by Joe Moorhead, head football coach at Akron. Coach, I wanted to ask you, kind of to piggyback off of what Adam just asked you. So with that said, are you guys venturing more out this way in recruiting? Have you, especially now with the addition of a program in this neck of the woods in UMass, have you been venturing out this way? I know you have been on some kids, but are you going to have even more of a recruiting presence in New England and the Northeast in general?
Yeah, we had a head coach player from the Boston area that was committed to us and flipped to BC late back Max Tucker. I'm pretty sure he started for them at a certain point this year.
He did.
But my philosophy from a recruiting standpoint has always been, local, primary, secondary, national. So local is within 2 hours. The next area is between 2 and 4, then 4 and 6, and then your national area. So we have coaches assigned really to every part of the country to make sure, we do our best to identify all the, players who from a talent and character standpoint can match. So yeah, we Coach Renna is our safeties coach, and he has New England. It's tough to get to everybody, but like I said, with recruiting services and now kids have their. You follow a kid on Twitter, you're going to get his highlight tape, you're going to find things
Right.
about him, and then the ability for us to work other camps during the summer, where the players are going to be, and that's something that we do strategically. That I don't think we're ever going to pull a ton of players out of one of our national or extended areas, but we have to find know about the ones who are good fits.
And it seems like different staffs handle recruiting during the season differently.
Yep.
Do you sort of want all your guys on staff to be at a high school game on a Friday night, or is that not really? Does it change depending on the kid?
We do our best on home games after our meetings to get coaches out to either see a game or a half of a game for guys that we've offered or guys that were are a little bit younger down the road. So at the beginning of the week, we sit down and we go over the schedule of the local games for every home Friday. And then if we go to a road game and a kid that we've offered matches up for us after meetings to get to see. And I know Coach Franklin was different at Penn State. He wanted us out at games every weekend, and at Oregon we didn't do a ton of that. So it differs, and I think as long as it's not disruptive to the process of preparing your team to play the next day, I'm in favor of getting our guys out. But once again, when it doesn't mess up what we're trying to do, get ready for the game.
Coach, I wanted to touch on your career a little bit here because you really have such a diverse resume. I mean, in many ways, when it comes to college football, you've seen it all. You've coached at Fordham, you've coached at Penn State, Mississippi State, Oregon, now at Akron. Just take us through the years here and how much have you seen the game evolve? I know we get hung up on the whole NIL portal thing, but how much during that time has the game evolved, and how big is the difference between levels? I mean, we think we know because of the scholarships and the level of talent, but in your experience, how different is the game, or does the game still come down to the same things, which are fundamentals and execution and effort and coaching?
I think at the end of the day, you're I won't say focused, but you're still providing young men with the opportunity to get a college degree, which otherwise may not be afforded to them if it hadn't been for football. You're bringing them in, and you're trying to make sure in 4 to 5 years they leave a better person, a better student, and a better player. And then you want to develop them in their pursuit to achieve their individual goals and win championships, together in the greatest team game in the world. So I don't think from 1998 when I first got into it until now, I don't think a ton has changed in terms of whether it's in terms of mission or whatever it is. I mean, you're trying to, help young men, grow as students and people. You're trying to help them become better players, and you're trying to win football games. And I don't think that'll ever change. It's just the everything else that surrounds that, right, wrong, or indifferent. I think that's been the biggest change.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Is there sort of a heavy favorite in the MAC this year, or is it going to be sort of a toss-up between a bunch of schools?
Well, I think always the defending champion is a favorite until someone knocks them off. Obviously, Coach Martin's done an unbelievable job, and and it's a story that I tell our guys. It's you don't see a ton of patience with coaches in this day and age, and I think Coach his first 2 years at Miami, I think they won 2-2, and then year 3 they were 0-6, and then they won, and then ended up getting to a bowl, and he's done an unbelievable job building that program because he's been given time. Coach Candle is one of the best at Group of 5 in the country, so I think they'll always be in it because they recruit well and they develop. I think Ohio U has won. They won 10 this year, and they won, I think, 5 straight bowls, so they're always in the mix. And So everyone else is kind of right there, banging on the door. I think the most unique thing though is you've seen the effect of the portal on the top level talent in the Mid American Conference. The number of quarterbacks, the number of starting skill players. One of the DNs from Miami, Ohio, I think transferred to Oklahoma. So when you're trying to forecast ahead, it's maybe not all right who didn't graduate. It's more of like who stayed on the roster. So I think that'll probably add to a little bit more of the already significant level of parity. Is that a lot of the best players in the league didn't graduate, but they're not coming back to that school.
Yeah, and this is our final question, which it brings me to that. I was recently speaking to an FCS coach who said to me off the record that, on the record, but I'm not going to mention who it was or anything else, but he basically said that at that level, you're almost afraid to put your guys up for all conference because they're already being followed by coaches at the FBS level and whatnot. And in some ways, you're afraid to put them up for all conference because you could lose them. I mean, is that really the world we're living in? Or, I mean, like you just said, you just had a DN from Miami go to Oklahoma. I mean, that's a big part of the challenge now.
Yeah, and that's when you're trying to figure out, well, how much of our class do we want to devote to high school players and how much do we want to devote to the portal and JUCO? At the group of five level, it's almost becoming, unspoken expectation that if you recruit a very good high school player that maybe the group of fives or the power fives didn't see, and he comes in and he becomes a player in year one or year two, and you don't have the NIL money to retain them, you're going to lose them. Or like you bring a kid in from a portal and he does really good and you develop him, and now with the unlimited amount of transfers, I mean, it happened to us this year. And so I don't want to say, it's not bad because I think giving young men an opportunity to transfer to other schools without repercussion is something that coaches have had outside of a buyout, for the history of this profession. So, there's some unintended consequences as it pertains to academic eligibility and progress towards degree, which I think the NCAA is trying to get a handle on. But it's a bit cliche. I guess it's the new normal.
It is. And I know I said it was our final question, but I just wanted to just real quick coming off of that question. And do you see changes on the horizon though? I mean, at some point there has to be some regulation, right? There has to be, and again, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Kids should have the right to move schools if they feel that's in their best interest. I've never been an opponent of the NIL money because even though to me it's not amateur athletics anymore, they do deserve to be compensated for their image and likeness. But the portal is kind of the elephant in the room, if you will, right? Because that has to be regulated at some point.
Yeah, and I'm not well versed enough to provide a very elaborate opinion and one that's, but I think from what I've read and a little bit that I hear, a lot of it has to do with antitrust issues and preventing people from young men from profiting off their name, image, and likeness, or preventing opportunities for them. And I think that's where it's at a standstill right now. And you saw the the Tennessee versus the NCAA thing, and I think another rule just came out yesterday.
Dark basketball.
You can't investigate any more NIL. I think I'm saying that correctly. I saw it yesterday, so I guess I don't know.
It's a microcosm of our society, though, and I hate to say it. I think we've become a society now that goes from one end to the other. There's no common ground anymore. There's no middle ground, and I think because of that, we went from kids couldn't move, kids couldn't monetize their image and likeness, and now some of them are making more money in college than they'll make on a rookie deal in the NFL. I mean, that's and I'm not going to put you in that position because as a head coach, but I'll say it needs to be regulated. There needs to be some structure there. I mean, let him transfer 3 times in a 4-year span, or maybe you got to be somewhere for 2 years, then you can go. Maybe then you go as a grad transfer. I don't know what the solution is. All I know is this: you guys, look, and you mentioned the coaches. I know that this was in response to a lot of that, where it was, hey, coaches can move, players should move too. I agree. However, you guys can't also just up and leave. You mentioned buyouts, you have contracts. It's not as easy as people think. So I think that's a big part of it. But Coach, I want to say thank you for taking the time, my friend. It was great to meet you. It's great to have you on. And we have a show on Monday nights called the New England Football Show. Same thing as this. It's a live stream on Facebook, Twitch, X, and YouTube soon. We'd love to have you on again,
Absolutely.
talk some ball with you, and we'd love to give you an opportunity to talk Akron football again.
Great. The last thing, and not that, but I think there's a lot of smart people in college football, and I think there is probably a way to put together a system that still allows the young men to get a degree, you know, to profit in a reasonable or a way that they should off of their name, image, and likeness, and still keep the sanctity and purity of the college football game that we've all come to know and love. So, like you said, it's not one extreme or the other. You know, there's somewhere in the middle. There's a solution that we can do the things that we should be doing for college players, right, to get their degree and you know benefit off of all the things that they bring to the game, but at the same point still keep it as college football as we've come to know and love it. So I hope someone's able to get that figured out.
Yeah, well, as we always like to say, Coach, I mean, these are people that are making these decisions above our pay grade.
Above our pay grade, me too.
So we can only control what we can control from one coach to another, right? As cliche as it sounds, we can only control what we can control, and what we can control is what we do. Thank you again, my friend. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
We'd love
it.
to come on the show.
Well, we would love to have you.
Thank you very
Joe
much.
Moorhead, head football coach of the Akron Zips. I think one of the best names in college football. Great logo, too. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to go live again here in a few minutes. I need a drink of water. We have more guests coming up. Again, we're going to be coming live to you. We're going to be coming to you live from the Big New England Clinic here in Newport, Rhode Island, the 50th anniversary of the Big New England Clinic. We're going to go live again here in a few minutes. We still have a couple more guests to go through. We're going to be here until 1 o'clock, so stay tuned. We'll be back here shortly. Stone, hit the button.